Well, if I can recommend you anything, they got a cherry pie here that'll kill you. Hello, welcome to slice number 7 of my Twin Peaks journey. This will be covering the 8th and 9th episodes of season 2 of Twin Peaks. And I'm quite a few episodes ahead of that, but I feel like I'm kind of getting now to that point in season 2 where it is kind of dipping a bit. Yeah, and I'm starting to see where some of the problems people have with the second season may be cropping up. Nothing really bad, but there's definitely a decline in my interest in the show. And I'll get to that in the next video, but for this one I want to talk about episode 8 and 9. And it's only, powering through these episodes, as I've said, I'm going to miss stuff and it's going to be out of order, so bear with me. But episode 8 and 9 basically tie up the Laura Palmer story. We have Leland revealed to be the killer of his own daughter, possessed by this Killer Bob entity. And I was thinking to myself, maybe, I think I've already said this, Killer Bob was an actual man who kind of terrorized Leland as a child, and that's kind of imprinted on his brain, and it's turned into this psychosis. But the more I see, the more points towards Killer Bob being this actual evil force, this spirit, this demon, whatever you want to call it. And we see kind of the end of Leland's story and the final kind of piece of the puzzle for Cooper in solving the mystery of Laura's death. And the part where he Donna gets the secret diary of the second secret diary of Laura, and she reads a piece out to Cooper, and it's the dream that he had in season 1. From Laura's perspective, she had the same dream, and I just had almost chills. And Donna's like, "You had the same dream? That's impossible." And Cooper's like, "Yes, it is," which is just a brilliant cap to that scene. There's just so much intrigue to stuff like that I love with this show. But Leland, and the clues were there. With Leland, there was the fact that the dwarf in the 3rd episode of season 1 was dancing inexplicably, but there was actually a reason for that, because Leland throughout the first season and beyond would dance a lot, and in many different ways. He would dance in complete and utter depression and stricken with grief, and he would try and recapture his previous dances with his daughter Laura. He would find a young girl and say, grab hold of her and, "My Laura," and then he would go into these wild kind of bipolar highs where he's just like dancing and doing kind of show tunes and stuff. There's always an element of dancing in Leland's character, and that was kind of a link there in the dream that was there all along, and I never saw it. The fact that the killer's supposed to have grey hair, and Leland's hair turned white, so there's all these little clues that were there that weren't too obvious, but they make sense when you find out about them after the fact. I love stuff like that. What really stood out to me with episode 8 and 9 was Ray Wise's performance as Leland Palmer, and I will say has gone down as one of my favourite performances maybe ever, I think. And it's real. I can't wait to go back now and see it from the beginning again with a new eye for everything, and for his character in particular. I remember saying that it seemed like Laura's mother was going to be the one who would go through such an emotional journey throughout the series, but really it was the father who started to become more interesting. And then, but clearly by the end of it, he was the one who killed his own daughter. And there's something so horrific about that, obviously, because it wasn't just killing his own daughter, there was other stuff as well. It's very dark. But the idea that it wasn't him. So there's such a tragedy to it at the same time. I guess the only saving grace is the fact that wasn't aware of it happening when it was happening. You know, otherwise that would just be unthinkable. You know, to see himself doing the things to his daughter that his physical body was doing, I think would completely have destroyed him. But as it stands, he was still hanging on by a thread throughout most of the series, and then we have his final kind of scene in the sheriff's department. Bob takes over his body and runs him into the door, busts his head open. He's at death's door, and Cooper comes in. The fire alarm's been set off. They're covered in water. It's spraying down. It's dramatic. And Ray Wise's final kind of moment as Leland was just, I mean, I almost cried, and I wasn't expecting it. I've been really enjoying the show, but it hasn't really moved me so much, I would say, at least to the point of, you know, getting emotional. And, well, you know, actually, no, there has been a few times where it's kind of struck a chord, but this time I really was emotionally moved by his performance, and he kind of explained things, how ever since he was a kid, he would have these moments where Bob would take over, and he would never remember them. I'm glad they added that, so we know that he doesn't remember what he was doing to his daughter. And then he says that he sees a light, and Cooper is very sensitive in that moment, and kind of basically guiding Leland to his death, you know, and, you know, go to the light, that kind of thing, and Laura's there waiting for you, kind of thing. It was just beautifully done, and again, just tragic. And also the fact that, you know, if you think about it, you know, retrospectively, well, in Laura's diary, she was saying, you know, she was talking about Bob, and she knew who Bob was, and she knew it was her father, and one of the kind of shockers for me was when, in her second diary, it says, "Today's the day I'm going to die," on the date of her death. She knew what was going to happen to her, and she chose that ending for her life. She took her own life in letting herself get murdered because she wanted to escape the horror of her life and the horror of Bob / Leland. And I think she said something to the effect of, you know, the only way that I can, you know, free myself from this is to you know, to die, basically. I'm trying to think of the way it was worded. It was very well done, and just heartbreaking, you know, like, holy shit. You know, and that's almost a bigger twist to me, was that she was knowingly walking to her death, and knew that that was the way out of this misery and torment, was, yeah, to kind of let Bob kill her, and then he couldn't hurt her anymore. Incredible story. And now that I've watched a few episodes post episode 9 of season 2, to me, I feel like those first 9 episodes of season 2 are season 2. You know, I feel like that's the story, and the way the episode plays out at the end is we have Cooper, the sheriff, Major Briggs, and Albert kind of just out, kind of, you know, outside amidst the trees, kind of talking about everything that had happened, and ruminating on whether or not the Bob thing was real. Was Leland just a crazy man, or was Bob this real entity that took over and possessed his body? And ultimately they kind of decide that, you know, or they kind of speculate that whatever happened, what we saw there was, you know, the evil in man. And that kind of wistful ending. And then we get the weird shot of the owl coming in at the end of the episode. That, to me, I would buy it as the end of season 2, and I would say that's another fantastic season of Twin Peaks. Now, a few episodes post that, it feels like it's treading water a little bit in terms of where the story's going, the thrusting kind of through line to whatever is next. I'm interested in all the storylines, or most of them, and I'm enjoying being in the world of Twin Peaks, but to kind of get so intense and then to kind of just drop right back down to this kind of light-hearted, you know, Nadine chasing schoolboys, you know, it's quite an interesting shift in the dynamics of the show. So I'm still enjoying it, but I'm definitely feeling this drop-off of stakes, I think. But I'll talk more about that as we go on with the next video and stuff. But suffice it to say, yeah, like, I mean, you know, season 2, 20 plus episodes. Season 1, if you include the pilot, 8 episodes. You know, I kind of feel like the story gets wrapped up in episode 9, and that's it. That's 2 really good chunks of TV that are around 8 to 9 episodes. And you find that a lot of these, like, Netflix shows these days are so good because they have maybe 10 episodes, and they tell this really good long story, but it doesn't outstay its welcome. And I'm not so sure if making a 20+ episode show every year is the right way to go about it. You look at some of the best shows, Breaking Bad, you know, those are shows that get maybe 10 episodes a season, or maybe 15 episodes, you know. But to do one every week for the whole kind of, you know, September to May, June TV season, you know, maybe you're trying to stretch things a bit too much. I don't know. That's certainly what it feels like as I'm moving forward in season 2. But as I said, I'm still enjoying the world and so on. But I'm highly intrigued as to, you know, if there's going to be this kind of overarching thing for the rest of season 2, part of the story. Because for me, Twin Peaks is Laura Palmer, you know. And I've read that, you know, David Lynch and Mark Frost, or at least one of them, you know, they were more interested in the town of Twin Peaks than maybe solving the murder or anything like that. But to me, that's what kind of drew me in. And I'm not saying I want more of it, because the story is kind of tied up. But anyway, lots to talk about moving forward, I'm sure. So I'll leave it at that. And there's other things that happened in those 2 episodes, 8 and 9, that I'm sure were important and that I really enjoyed. But I'll get to all the other stuff in the next video. So the end of the Laura Palmer storyline gets a huge thumbs up from me. And I think Ray Wise was just, again, phenomenal. Like the scene when he's just laughing in that kind of, not cell, but like the room they have downstairs or whatever. I mean, he would have made a great Joker. He would have been a great kind of left field choice to play the Joker, like Heath Ledger was at a certain time. I just thought his performance was phenomenal. You know, from his confession to murdering Jacques Renault to his final scene, you know. And I'm so sad that the character's gone now, and I'm so sad that we won't see him in the new series, or maybe we will get some kind of weird trickery. We never know with David Lynch. But yeah, what a character. I definitely feel like he's not my favorite character, but I think the best character, I think, in Twin Peaks was Leland Palmer. Because you know, Cooper, you know, he's the star of the show, but we don't know too much about him. And I think it was, I'm not sure which episode it was, where we learn a bit more about Cooper's backstory. He reveals to Audrey that you know, he had someone once and things went south, and it gives him a bit more of a backstory, which I really enjoyed hearing, because as entertaining as Cooper is, we don't know that much about him, apart from his own idiosyncrasies and things like that. But yeah, so yeah, I think Leland Palmer might be the most interesting character, and the one I've enjoyed seeing go in this big arc for, you know, however long it's been, I guess 16, 17 episodes. And also I loved the scene where Cooper brought all the main suspects into the roadhouse, I believe it was, and kind of what did he even do? I've forgotten what he did. There was some trickery going on. There was the old guy who turned up again from the beginning of season 2. You know, that gum you like's going to come back in style. I've forgotten now how he deduced that it was Leland. Again, just it was this weird thing that's going on, like the visions that Cooper's getting, the supernatural element to it. And I like how Albert said to Cooper, like, look, just get it done, do whatever you want to do. You know, at this point we just need the killer. So, you know, paraphrasing, but I enjoyed that part of it. And also Benjamin Horne at this point, I think I said in the previous video or before that I'm looking for, his character I like to hate is a character that I want to see get his comeuppance, and he's starting to get that now. You know, getting locked up, getting kind of put in a position of being the main primary, you know, suspect number 1 for Laura's murder, and he doesn't have the alibi, and he's now being put in his place, and it is delicious to watch. Anyway, that's enough for now. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.